Hi, everyone. My name is Robert W. Jones, and I'm with the iNetrepreneur Network, a place where entrepreneurs go so they can grow. And I am here with Natalie McQueen. She is one of the publishing experts from GMCP Publishing. Hi, Natalie. How are you?
Hi, Robert. I am fabulous. I'm very excited about today.
I'm really excited about today as well because we're talking about a book that you're publishing with us, the iNetrepreneur Network, called The Art of Connection: 365 Days of Inspirational Quotes by Entrepreneurs, Business Owners, and Influencers. But better yet, we're also going to show entrepreneur authors how they can become a best-selling author in only 1 hour or less. I think that's pretty incredible, don't you?
It really is.
And so what we have is I'm going to share my screen.
Sure.
And Natalie and I are going to go through a little presentation, but we want to make sure that you guys all stay to the end because we have a special offer for you. Plus, you want to stay to the end so you can learn how to become a best-selling author in 1 hour or less and create massive amounts of awareness and exposure for your business. Are you ready, Natalie?
Who doesn't want to know how to do that?
I know. I mean, right? You know, one of the things that we're actually taught in publishing, Natalie, is that books allow entrepreneurs to give you a tremendous competitive advantage. You know, we can see from this slide is it helps people gain a bigger impact, you know, create more influence, you know, even sustain better profits over the course of their entrepreneurial lifetime. And one thing that they also talk about is authors, you know, command more respect. But I've also found, you know, when it comes to the publishing world, you know, there's kind of a double standard because there's authors who are authors and make money, you know, but there's also entrepreneurs who also want to add the credibility about being an author, and they're not necessarily the same, are they?
No, definitely two different cases. And when you are your own author, there's so much work involved going into that. And what we are going to talk about today kind of gives you a little fast forward way to jump in and get your feet wet as an author.
Well, you know, and I know myself as an entrepreneur, you know, I'm impatient. I don't want to wait 2 years to get a book out on the market. And I certainly don't want to spend a boatload of money because I think the one thing that a lot of publishing companies actually don't tell their authors is that they're not taught what the cost is. And sometimes publications after 2 years, you get $100,000 into debt and the book hasn't even reached the marketplace, has it?
No. Well, and being a part of a book, and you talked about the impact that you can make. Think about when you're an entrepreneur trying to get in front of someone and you can hand them a copy of your book that has multiple authors with inspirational messages in it, and instead of a business card, like there is a much bigger impact there.
Well, you know, I remember the first time you told me about this a couple of months ago, and you held up a business card, and then you held up a book, and you said, "See the difference it makes, you know, in a live interview, anytime that you're in video." And I thought to myself, yeah, it makes a difference in video, but it probably also makes a big difference on stage. And so, yes, books do provide, you know, a competitive advantage, but what we're looking at is what does it look like to the entrepreneur author? And for entrepreneurs who want to become authors, there are some challenges and problems. And one of the first that I can think of is actually knowing the difference between the two. And the biggest difference between an entrepreneur author and an author is an entrepreneur makes their money not on the book, but what they do. And a regular author makes money on what they write. And so many times authors have a different pipeline of funds to get them to wait that 2 years, or they get those big checks from the company. You know, and many entrepreneur authors don't understand that there really isn't that much paid out money in the publishing circles, is it, Natalie?
No, for sure. The other thing too is when you are an entrepreneur, often you don't see yourself as an author, but you do have that expertise and you do have ways that your business shines in compared to others.
Yeah, and speaking of the time and speaking of what you're also saying, because I put time, here's the thing. it takes too long. As an entrepreneur, I need exposure and awareness now for my business and myself. I can't wait 2 years. I can't even, for me, sometimes I can't even wait 6 months, even 3 months. I'm looking for something to get me more credibility faster, because that's how I get more clients. But, you said something else that's very impactful, and that's, what I hear this word called the imposter syndrome, where, the author, the entrepreneur author doesn't feel like they can write, but then they also feel like they don't have expertise enough to be a part or write their own book, do they?
Right. And that's where we can help them out.
No, absolutely. And this is really where you can help them out, because when you look at the different levels of publishing, from, I mean, the top level publishers to the mid-level publishers, and heck, even self-publishing and managed publishing, you have created ways to get books to market in a much more and faster way than a lot of other publishing situations. And this really does help the entrepreneurial author. Another thing that I love is you also sit down with the authors just, to help them create more influence. So bringing the book to market faster is a key way to help them create more influence, isn't it?
Yes. Well, and think about when you're in a book with other business owners and entrepreneurs, you're open to getting to know each other. You're open, and guess what? You're so excited that you have this book. You give it out to your tribe, your circle of followers, and guess, everybody sees that. So you're kind of put into a huge market for
You know,
free.
and and the other thing too, Natalie, I think it's really interesting is, I love business cards, but I love books more. And people will say, well, why do you love books more? Because there's a certain amount of accomplishment, and there's a certain amount of confidence that comes across when you can say, hey, I'm a best-selling author, in a book, let alone, this book, which, they're going to learn soon enough that there's another special thing that we have for them in store, which will also take them over the top. But it really is, when it gets right down to it, entrepreneurs are in the business of making money, not in the business of writing books. And that's what this is about, helping entrepreneur authors make more money by being a part of the book and not having to wait 2 years to write that book, right?
Exactly. And without that high cost, for sure.
Absolutely. you know but one of the things that we want to talk about as well before we get to our next slide is, there is the new option, and that's what GMCP and iEntrepreneur Network have come up with. We have come up with a new way, a fourth way, that an author can get their voice heard and get their face seen, with many other people. And that option is the community book option. It's the first integrative author publishing solution that I know of, that's come to the marketplace, and really doesn't have the author, first. It actually has the entrepreneur author, first and foremost. And that's why I think that people who are a business owner, or they're influencers, or certainly entrepreneurs, they should get excited about this, because this is a great way to get them the awareness and exposure and create the impact that they want, isn't it, Natalie?
Absolutely. I love the idea of community books, because I have been in other books where you may not even get to meet the other authors. And this is a real community where we come together, where we have like-minded people inspiring, bringing their inspiration. And what a powerful way to get seen with such a low cost for marketing your business.
And I said that so much of the time. You compare the cost. I say that there's high cost, middle cost, low cost, but this is the lowest cost to really be seen by hundreds, of people that are just in the book itself. Most books like this are $1,000 to $5,000. But if you were to go out and buy the book, I've counted the cost on that, Natalie. It's I remember getting a check from a major publication company, and about 6 months in, I'd already spent $15,000 of what they wanted me to do. All of a sudden, the $10,000 check didn't look so big anymore. And with a book like this, you don't have to spend that that $15,000.
Right.
I mean, the other thing too is, in the way that community books are, is you get a page. And what's really great about that is you actually have control over that content, don't you?
Yes. you can be as creative. We give you some guidelines and we're here to help you, but use your creativity and inspiration and let it flow.
Absolutely. One thing that we also found with community books is the sheer size of the community itself actually creates a viral impact. I
Yep.
remember one time I was working with a business coach and they said, well, you look out there and there's an audience of 500, Robert, but you know that everyone out there probably has another community of 500 to 1,000 as
Yeah.
well.
And
And
that's
that's what
what I was
this is
saying
like.
earlier.
Yeah. I mean, it just really starts to multiply and people want to see who you are, don't they?
Yes. Yep. And other like-minded business owners are sorry,
Yeah,
are
no, and they are like-minded. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
they're
but
open to getting to know what you're doing and they are good referral partners. Sometimes you end up with a joint venture partner that you may end up doing business with.
absolutely. And the other thing too is we talked about a little bit early, community books are actually faster than even self-publishing books or managed self-publishing books, which may take 6 months, 6 to 18 months. Community books usually take about 3 to 6 months. The other thing is, as opposed to finding an editor and finding a publisher and doing the marketing and having a website done and going all these abouts, trying to get it, even getting on podcasts and television shows to say, hey, I've written this one book that's taken me 2 years to accomplish. I mean, after 3 months, you can hold up the book anywhere that you're at, and the editing, the publishing, the marketing is done for you, isn't it, Natalie?
Yes, we do everything from the start to the end, and we get you visible. We do a lot of beautiful marketing, and then we have one heck of a party at the end.
Well, the party has gotten so big that at the first launch, we ended up having to do another launch because we didn't realize so many people would come. And at the second relaunch of the first book, we had 177 attendees.
That's
And
awesome.
then all of a sudden, we learned from that and we said, hey, you know what, why don't we do something special and create a Uber book launch? And we ended up calling it the Art of Connection Summit, where the authors and the entrepreneurs, other experts and panelists that were in the book, were able to talk about themselves and who they are, what they do, to other members that came on into the audience through Zoom. It was a pretty magical event, wasn't it?
Yes, I was there, and what I would say is you with the community make it such a focal point that everyone has time to mix and mingle and share about their own businesses. So it's much more than just being in a compilation book.
And being a part of the community movement, I think that's something that we haven't said yet. It is more than just a community. It's a movement because people, they interact, they connect, they read each other's quotes, they begin to understand each other, and like you said, they begin to refer each other. But with us, in the last book, and I think we may beat the mark in this next book, but 122 entrepreneurs came away for the first time with the title of author. I remember when I called the Guinness Book of World Records and I talked to them there and I asked them, I said, I wanted to know, I said, has there ever been a book that created more than 122 authors first time? And they got back to me and they said, you know what? I don't think there has. And I said, well, is there a record for that? And they said, no, we don't have a record for that. And I remember going, can you make a record for that? Because I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. No, there's nothing like that feeling. And some people will say, well, can I really claim a best-selling author if I didn't write the whole book?
Right.
Absolutely. You are a best-selling author of a community book and you can claim it, and it's kind
and
of
it's yours.
Absolutely.
And I am, and Natalie, I don't know if you know this, but I'm a published poet many times over in my early part of life, and I've put on poetry events, and they call them slams. And I tell people this all the time. It's not about writing 1,000 pages. It's about writing one quality page.
Yeah.
And I told them I'm published with poems that don't even reach a page in length. Some of them, they're a quarter page, but I'm still published. And I think that that's the most magical thing. But here's the thing that we do with GMCP and iNetrepreneur Network, not only are you going to be an author or a second-time bestseller or a second-time author or even more, because you can make claim to that, you're going to be something that many authors don't get, and that's get to be in the Library of Congress. How cool is that?
It is very cool. Not many books can just claim that, so that's one thing. And the other thing is it makes you unique. It makes the book shine because the Library of Congress is the biggest library out there.
It is, and people ask me that you have 1/1300 of percent. I can barely say 1/1300% of authors actually get into the that actually even write a book. And then if you take it that, I found out it was like 1/1300th of percent or even lower get into the Library of Congress.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of bestsellers out there, but there's not a lot of bestsellers out there that happen to also be in the Library of Congress. And that's something that we offer you when you're a part of the Art of Connection book. So, here's the grand part of the finale. This is like the finale before the finale.
Drum roll.
Drum roll, please. And so most people usually ask me, okay, I understand, why I should be a part of a book. I understand how it creates more awareness and exposure. I understand how I get credibility. I understand that it's a great showpiece when I'm around other people. But, they always ask me, Robert, but you're telling me I can do this in an hour or less? And I'm saying, yes, you can do this in an hour or less. And right, Natalie?
Yes, no, for sure. We break it down and we help you, and we do some step-by-step kind of brainstorming ideas where you can look and you talk to your younger self. What inspires you, and what would you tell others if you were having a legacy statement?
And the page is set up really in 4 parts, and Natalie and I have set up that way. So really, what you're doing is, what is that quote? If you were to take your life and put it into a quote, something very, very meaningful. Maybe it's something you get up in the morning and something that you live by, or something that you told yourself once in life, and that from that day forward you said, I am going to change. Or maybe it's something that you give to your audience when you're up on stage. We help you craft those quotes. And that's the first part. It's only about 25 words or less. The next part of it is, the next part is the body of the quote. And that's your thought on the quote, isn't it, Natalie?
Yeah, that's taking your beliefs, why this is so important to you, or why you're passionate about this quote, and sharing it.
And I think that that's really important, because many times, we hear the quotes and it may resonate with us, but sometimes when you go deeper and you bring it into perspective or in context, all of a sudden the quote's not just, wow, I love that quote. It's like, wow, I understand why. And I can actually not just know it, but apply it. And I think that that's really cool.
Never thought of it that way before.
Yeah, absolutely.
Reading it, it's like, oh, that's a whole different perspective. I never really thought of it that way.
And the last part is the question. And what we want you to do is write a thoughtful question to inspire a reader to act in some way. I mean, my mom used to always tell me all the time, she said, education is not, when it comes to education, it's not about learning, it's about creating action from that learning. And that's what the question's about, isn't it, Natalie?
Yeah. Yes. If we take action when we learn something new and you just store it, it's good to know knowledge is power, but the real power comes in when you take those action steps and you make it implemented into your life.
And absolutely. And, one of the quotes I have is, knowledge is power, but action is better. And we have a sample here of our editor from the iNetrepreneur magazine, Brian Wright. And his quote is, don't you dare play small. The world needs who you are. And he goes on to talk about self-limiting beliefs and how we all can overcome them. And in his question, he says, what can you create that will live beyond your lifetime? And that's what this book is about. Getting your inspirational quote, putting your thought together, and then having just a compelling question to the reader that says, from this point forward, I'm gonna level up that 1%, that 1% difference. And at the end, if you've inspired the readers so much, they have their contact information on the page as well. So you can reach out to them and create that conversation. So your readers out there are creating conversations, the authors are creating conversations with each other, and then we have events to highlight you as an author. I mean, so many ways in this community book. And most of our authors, don't they, Natalie? They said, you know what? I can do this in about an hour or less. And many of them do it, what, in 30 minutes?
Yeah. Yeah, it is not as scary as people think. Like jumping into authorship scares a lot of people. We make it simple for you. We're here for you. If you want us to read it and give you some thoughts on it, we'd be happy to do that.
Absolutely. And so this is what we found. And we've talked about this, but we really wanted to break it down just a little bit more because we talk about all this exposure, but we wanted to actually show you what that exposure looks like. What is growing your influence, your credibility? What does growing with this community mean? Well, what we found is with these community books, we have at least 100 authors involved in community books. And with this book, I think we're going to have probably over 300 authors, aren't we? Authors, aren't we, Natalie?
From all different parts of the world. That's what's exciting.
It really is. And some of the things that we talked about is networking and sharing your business, but it goes deeper still. I've seen people get on podcasts. I've seen them get into other media, such as television shows or radio networks, picking up speaking gigs. I mean, the community of authors itself is also created digitally. So it even shows up in, Google. So our authors are creating awareness within the SEO of it. But I think the biggest and most exciting thing is at the end of the day, all this exposure and awareness leads us to what all entrepreneurs really desire, and that's gaining more clients.
For sure. Yep. When you are exposed to a bunch of like-minded people that want to do business, and maybe what that business person doesn't have a service that you actually need, but you'll know somebody, and now you have a confident person that that can serve your friend or family.
Absolutely. And I have known coaches just within the community of the first book. Just within the community of the first book, we had 184 authors. Two of the authors came back, the entrepreneur authors came back to me, and they said they were able to create over 6 figures of business. And it wasn't because they were trying to sell people.
Right.
They just decided to make it their own personal effort to be able to start reaching out to the other members of that book. And that's where that like-minded, that's where the trust, and that's where the heart set all comes into focus, because there's a certain amount of camaraderie by being in this community that creates the greatness of where you gain clients. And that's what I think is so remarkable, which leads us to this. How can you become an author with us? And it's as easy as this, isn't it, Natalie? It's like pick your date or leave it to fate. So if you pick the date, then pay for your package, and it's either a reserved book date or a random book date. And a random is leaving it to fate. That means you have no idea where you're going to be in the book. You have no special date, but from this day forward, you'll have a special date because you're going to be in the Library of Congress with us. Just create your content and then submit your content. And then we do the rest, and I don't know what that looks like. Natalie knows that. I don't know what we do the rest is. So maybe elaborate on that a little bit, but I'm kind of excited on what that magic looks like.
Yeah. So we will have specifics. We will keep everyone up to date, but we will take everyone's submissions and make it into a beautiful manuscript. We will get it edited and then formatted. And the formatting is really what makes it look like a beautiful book. And then we will have some specifics coming up, how we can all be involved in one amazing launch. And it's so much fun. It is just
it really
so much
is
fun.
It's really exciting, and we do make it easy. And when you get to fill out that form, it tells you 25 words for your quote, 225 words for your thought, and another 25 words for your question. I mean, anyone can do this, but we don't want anyone. We want you, because this is a special project. It started some time ago when my son asked me. He asked me about legacy, and he said, "Dad, it's not about stuff. It's about knowledge and how you can create wisdom from that." And that's what this book is about.
It
It's
really
about
is.
contributing authors all coming together to lend their support, their hope, and in this book, inspiration to other entrepreneurs, business owners, and influencers who truly need it right now.
Absolutely. I can't wait to see it as a finished product and flip through and just day by day reading inspiration from all over the world.
Yeah, absolutely. So, go to 365daysofinspirationalquotes.com. That's 365daysofinspirationalquotes.com. Reserve your page. There's a link up there to reserve your page, and use the code that you have here and get into the books with us. We are so excited that you watched this presentation. You can certainly find us on LinkedIn or on Facebook, or reach out to us at the website. But thank you, Natalie, for being with me here today to
Robert,
talk about this wonderful book and this wonderful movement that we have.
I'm very excited. So thank you for taking the time.
All right.